the day-to-day. So go ahead and put your pens down. Set your hands on your table. And let's just take some deep breaths. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to just take some deep breaths. And I want you to think about a really stressful situation with your child or with your spouse. Maybe it was an occasion, it was a moment. Try to calm yourself down enough just to go back to that moment. Maybe it's an argument, or maybe it's just that your child is getting ready to come home, and that's really scary. You're really excited, but that's also really scary. So for those of you who are in that place, I want to guide you a little bit. I want you to stay right there. I want you to breathe and think about how scary that is right now. And for those of you who have parents who are here for a visit, but your child's not coming back home, I want you to think about how scary it is to have to leave them again and go back home, and maybe when they get ready to come back home. Sit for a moment and think about that. Now, listen to your body. Where do you feel the tension in your body right now as you think about that? For a lot of you, it's going to be right in your chest. Some of you, it's in your throat. Others of you, it's in your stomach. Someone got a little headache. Put your hands in that place. Put your hands right on that place, your head, your stomach, your throat, your heart, and just breathe into that place. And say, I feel scared. Say those exact words, I feel scared. Keep breathing. Say it again, I feel scared. I want you to breathe into it, and I want you to just allow that to become present. I feel scared, or I feel anxious, or I feel nervous, or I feel angry, or I feel sad. And just allow that to kind of expand. Keep breathing into it. Now ask yourself, what is that really about? What is this really about? So you're still breathing, you're still holding in that place, and you say, what is this really about? What is that feeling that you're feeling right now? What is that really about? Ask your body, what is this really about? And then I want you to listen. Because see, you just went underneath the fear of whatever is going on in the present, and you just went deeper into something else. Now you can open your eyes, but keep your hands right where they're at. As you are asking that question, your body communicates to you. Your body holds all your stress. It holds all your pain. It shows up as irritable bowel syndrome. It shows up as migraines. It shows up as fibromyalgia. It shows up as chronic back pain. It shows up as sore throats, tension in your neck. Your body's holding it, and it's got a message for you. It's got something to say for you. And if you'll listen to it, listen to what your body says, it will tell you specifically what's going on. When it tells you specifically what's going on, so let's say I'm scared about my child coming home. If I ask what's underneath that, what is that really about? I drop into I'm scared I'm not going to be good enough. I'm scared I'm not going to get it right. I'm afraid I'm going to mess up. You can ask yourself even more, What's underneath that? What is that really about? What is that really about? And you drop into the next level of that. It could be that if I don't get this fixed, I'm going to get a divorce. And then my child's going to come from a broken home like I came from a broken home. And you go into something really deep. And then what you do with that is you breathe into that. You breathe into that and you just be with that emotion. Don't run from that emotion. Just be with that emotion. If that emotion makes you want to cry, if that emotion makes you want to yell, if that emotion makes you want to moan, and a lot of times you just start with, just feel it. The body doesn't know words. Words is a figment of our cognitive processes. The body only knows sound and movement and feeling. So when you just start with a little, and then if you allow yourself to go a little bit more into that, and allow that feeling to come up, that is significant self-understanding. Because what you are then doing is you're making a deeper connection to something that you think is what's consciously being a trigger for you. You're making a deeper connection to it, and then you can make a little bit more of a separation. When you go home and your child's acting out, your child's doing whatever they do that usually stresses you out, instead of focusing specifically on your child and getting them to stop that behavior, ask yourself, what is it right now about this behavior that's stressing me out? See, reactivity is all unconscious. There's no thinking involved in reactivity. It's immediate. It's all amygdala driven. But see, responsibility, responding to a situation, that requires thought. That requires consciousness. But 9 times out of 10, when you're in the midst of a real stressful situation and dynamic with your child, you're not thinking, you're on autopilot. You're just mad. You're just overwhelmed and you're just hurting, and that's what's coming out. And that's what's coming out of them. There's no thought involved in that. And they typically lose because we're the bigger, stronger, more controlling, we control everything. We're the parent. So they typically lose, but really we both lose. The relationship loses. Because once you've lost the relationship, you've lost everything. That's the relationship factor. The relationship factor says the relationship is the single most important thing. As long as you have relationship, you have the ability to influence your child. But when you have lost relationship, you have lost everything. And you'll find yourself, as you're losing relationship, you feel the relationship getting more and more desperate, more and more distant, more and more severed, and you don't know what to do. You know you need it, you know you need to be connecting, but you just don't know how to get there. And then what happens is you get more desperate and you get more scared and you get more stressed, and then you create even more distance. And then what happens is you start trying to have more control. Don't do that. Don't hang out with them. Come home earlier. Do this, do that. You start getting more controlling. As you get more controlling, everything starts to get more stressful. And then before long, you've lost relationship. And then you can no longer influence your child. The ultimate goal is not to be controlling of your children, but to be able to influence your children. But you can only do that if you have relationship. If you've lost relationship, you can always restore it. How can you start restoring relationship? I'm going to give you a very simple way to begin restoring relationship today. The next time you see your child, smile at them. The next time you see your child, just think a positive thought. Think about all the hope you've held in your heart. Think about all the hope you still hold in your heart. Maybe touch them. You don't have to hug them, because if you don't have a relationship, your child doesn't want to be touched. Just give them a nice, quick little pat, a pass by. It's a little pass by. You're already gone before they can say, "Oh, don't touch me." They've already been touched. It's the small things that go into restoring relationship. Eye contact. Eye contact stimulates oxytocin. But eye contact also can stress you out. You've oftentimes heard that children need to make eye contact. Well, when you're stressed out, one of the first things you do is stop making eye contact. Because eye contact is how you stimulate the frontal lobe, your social and emotional control center. So the last thing you want to do when you're stressed out is make eye contact. The next thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be touched. And then you really don't want to listen. You heard that talk to the hand? Remember that talk to the hand? That was a reflection of how stressed out we were and how we can still be stressed out. Those are all sensory pathways. And all of those sensory pathways can cause us to become stressed. I'm going to touch on the stress model right quick so you can take this with you. The stress model says all behavior arises from a state of stress. If you'll notice, almost everything I do is a bottom-up. It's a bottom-up model. It's a bottom-up, dynamic. When I'm talking about it, I'm always talking from the bottom up because it starts within us and then comes out. It doesn't start with our thinking up here. It starts with our thinking in our bodies, and then it comes up and out. It starts with all the experiences that we carry within us that then comes up and out. All behavior arises from a state of stress. In between the behavior and the stress is the presence of a primary emotion. There are only two primary emotions, love and fear. Those are our only two primary emotions. Every feeling arises from love or fear. Every single one. Anger, jealousy, resentment, happiness, joy, frustration, it all arises from love or fear. You do yourself a favor by coming to understand that there are only two primary emotions, love or fear. When your child is yelling at you, your child is not angry, your child is scared. When you are angry and when you are mad, when you're being defensive, when you are rageful, you are scared. It's very simple, and the sooner you can see that within yourself, the sooner you can see it within your child. So that when your child is flared up and they're acting all aggressive and upset, don't see that. Don't see that. See scared. See a scared little child. See fear. If you'll see fear, it will change the way your brain reacts. Think about if you've got two people who are exactly the same, and one person over here is yelling and ranting, and you see that person as angry. And the other person over here is yelling and ranting, but you see that person as scared. Your brain changes how you react to each of those different people. It's just a different perception. Two primary emotions, love and fear. You can experience stress and fear through any of your sensory pathways. And what you have to do is you have to move beyond fear as being scared. As in there's a big dog and he's going to get me and I'm scared. Fear is much more than that. As soon as you become stressed, your entire body constricts into fear. You can become stressed through what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you touch, what you taste, the temperature of your body, movement, and digestion. 8 different sensory pathways, all that can cause you to become stressed, which will cause your body and your brain system to constrict into fear. 8 sensory pathways which can activate your amygdala to stir up your brain stem and to bring alive any trauma that you've experienced. You could smell something that sets you off and you don't even know it. It takes one pathway to activate your amygdala after you smell something. When you smell something, smell is the most direct way to cause yourself stress. It's the most direct way, one pathway. When you see something, it has to go through 7 different pathways before it actually formalizes into a thought. So when you see something, it's a little process before you realize what you're seeing. Question? Yes?
The sense of smell is the reverse of feeling smell.
Excuse me?
With the sense of smell is the reverse, calming down. True as well.
It's the same. If you smell orange, the scent of orange, the scent of lavender, both very calming. So that's why, you have all there's a whole science behind it. What's it called? Aromatherapy. It's called aromatherapy, absolutely. So yeah, it affects it in the same way. It can stress you out. It can calm you down. You walk into a room or to someone's house and it smells like banana nut bread like grandma used to make. And it immediately triggers a resonant memory which releases oxytocin and calms you down. You walk into a place and smell something foul. Immediately your stomach gets upset. Why does your stomach get upset? Because you have neural circuitry which runs from your amygdala all the way down your spinal cord into your intestines. So when your stomach gets upset, you are literally having a biological reaction to something. Your amygdala has triggered your gut. When you have a gut feeling, it's the same thing. It's not a metaphor. Candace Pert says it's a biological reality. So you can have a stress response through any of your sensory pathways, and that can cause you to escalate. Okay, and you may not know, with children who are really sensitive, you may not know what it is that set them off, and sometimes it's the course of the day. It's all the stress they've dealt with along the way throughout the day that sets them off. And you don't know, and you don't have to know. But what you do have to understand is that is that child being in a state of stress and fear. And the most effective way to deal with that child is to, number one, recognize the stress and fear within yourself, and then to do whatever it is you need to do to be able to bring about some calm. And that could be don't talk. That could be go have a seat somewhere and sit down and don't do anything. It could be lowering your voice. Or it could be actually raising your voice and saying, I've got you. We're okay. We're going to make it through this. It's whatever you feel needs to happen in the moment when you are calm. When you're stressed out, you can't focus on those things. See, when you're calm, you have every answer available to you for any given situation. You have an abundance of them. I can give you 20 different interventions for any behavioral problem. 20, 30, 40, however long you got. We can come up with something if we're operating from a perspective of love. But when we're operating from a perspective of stress and fear, all we can focus on is trying to fix it. That's all we can do. Yes, sir.
Is there a such thing as, with your child, as a good fear? Is it a healthy fear? Is there should they be a little bit scared of consequences? Or is there such thing? Or is that...
Healthy fear is called common sense. Okay? And we're going to talk about consequences, but there's no real significant place in relationship for fear, because what fear does is it prevents trust, and then it prevents the ability to influence. So when your child fears you as a parent, ultimately your child doesn't trust you, and they will follow you until they get old enough to think for themselves, which is usually adolescence, and then they'll say, screw you, I can think for myself. So, yeah, we don't, not in relationship, but otherwise good fear is just called common sense. Get out of the way of the car. A 2-year-old doesn't have that kind of common sense. That's why you have to grab them, because they don't have it. But there's a book called The Continuum Concept by Jean Liedloff. It's a fascinating book. Her contention is that we have actually, through our society and through our culture and through our history, we've actually taken away a level of common sense which is naturally there. In some tribes, children just know not to just walk out into the water. But here in our society, we have to tell our kids all the time, don't go in the deep water, you can't swim. Because we've created so much fear and uncertainty. It's called a continuum concept, very interesting book. I think first of all, we want to look at who are the boundaries for in that instance. Are the boundaries to teach our kids, how to do something differently, or is it to protect ourselves from feeling like we're being verbally assaulted? To protect yourself from being verbally assaulted. So here's the thing. It's always find interesting about behaviors. Your child is upset and they've called you the B word. Now they've already called you the B word. You can't get them to take it back. You've already been called it. What I'd want to ask you to do is spend some time looking at, have you ever experienced any kind of verbal abuse before your child? And how does it make you feel when it happens now? And have you ever experienced that feeling before? And so spend some time with that, because here's the thing. When we get into allowing our children to express their attitudes or feelings, or even if they're in behaviors, we're not saying that it's okay. We're not condoning it. I'm not suggesting that your child cussing you out is okay, because no one wants to be cussed out. But what I am saying is that it is a process that is where they are at, and until they can learn that they do not have to use their words in that way, they can't be anywhere different. So I might not like being cussed out, but I might not say anything about it in that moment because it's not important. How you're talking to me in that moment is really not the important piece. The important piece in that moment is that. But when you call me the B word, really just hurts my feelings. Could you call me the A word instead? Or the D word? You know what I'm saying? The point is, don't do it in the midst of it, because it's not going to make any difference. It's only going to escalate the situation because you're not attending to what the real issue is. The real issue is not him calling you the B word. The real issue is that he's completely stressed out. You're probably completely stressed out in that moment, and neither of you feel understood or listened to or connected. So how can you restore the relationship? And if you make the relationship your focus point and not the B word, but make the relationship the focus point, start focusing on how can I make my relationship with my child stronger, he'll stop calling you the B word. Because now he has more of a connection to you. But see, if he doesn't have any connection to you, all bets are off in the midst of his stress. Does that make sense? It's not easy though, right? You want me to just say slap him or something. Take some points away.
Here's all my early dismissal students across the street.
With summer coming, Madison Park's principal, Chuck McAfee, knows that some students find warm weather especially distracting.
Sir, what are you doing? It seemed like a good idea, but where do you really belong? All right, let's get there. Being a principal meeting.
Every part of this video is instructional. But just to tie into the question you just asked, you said, what do you do when the kid continues to break the rules? This kid is supposed to be in class, right? The principal goes up, he sees the kids laying out in the sun, relaxing, taking a nap. He says, sir, what are you doing? Kid already knows what he's doing, and he doesn't say get back to class. He goes, and he points. And the kid smiles and starts heading back to class, and the principal, this is the principal. How many of us have this kind of relationship with the principal? Puts his arm around him. It's because the principal puts his arm around him that the principal can just point with his finger and say, go back to class. And there's no issue. It's because of the relationship. But I want you to try to, if you can, let's say there's going to be a scenario come up with this other student, let's say this is, you got mom and dad, and the principal is you. The principal is you, and the other teacher that's going to be in this is your spouse. How's that? So you get to be the good person, and your spouse gets to be the bad person. So let's play this out and see how, I want you to watch to see who is more focused on love and relationship and understanding, and who's more focused on fear and control, and see what the outcome is.
Is being consistent, being fair, and about communication. Not a bad idea, though. You have to have a really good sense of humor to be successful at this. Okay, he's looking around. Walk straight up.
Look at this. He puts the gun right directly on the camera. Thinks that nobody's gonna see it.
That's unbelievable. Sometimes it's not always fun. These are young people, and so we do have rules.
Let's go.